Waiting on some parcels here, so I could continue my bike journey. And so going back into Indiana, looks like back into this. I'm gonna go to the southern part of Indiana, to the Hoosier, and do some. I guess I'm gonna winter down there. I'm thinking about maybe wintering down in the Hoosier National Forest. So I'm gonna probably donate some of these books. I got this library of books with me, and it's making my trailer so heavy. I think that's why I'm breaking spokes on my trailer wheel. So I'm gonna have to lighten that up a little bit, I think. So I'm probably gonna donate some of these Catholic Bibles to the library here. They do accept donations, book donations, and they just sell them at their. I mean, I like to keep them, but unfortunately, it's weighing out. It's just breaking spokes on my wheels on my trailer because it's just too much weight, I think. So I'm thinking about just donating some of those books. Keep my King James. I got my Bearing Precious Seed. Got my little, what's that thing called? The little Gideon Bible there. Keep that. And my, of course, my preaching Bible here, right? Preaching Bible. And my books I bought in Fort Wayne at the used bookstore. The Hell Lindsey books are. I'm gonna keep those. And the Dave Hunt book, but that's it. I have to lighten my load up here a little bit here. It's just too much stuff I got. It's time for me to lighten the load up a little bit. Books weigh a lot when you get a bunch of books. They do weigh a lot. They see because my plan. I was hoping I would have found a job. Then I could got a place and just kind of had a little library of books, start my own personal little library. But nothing like that happened for me. So I have to switch gears a little bit here, just and then go into the forest here. So I have to lighten the load up. So that's kind of why I'm here. I'm just waiting on some parts here. Wait, my pump blew out too. My air pump, the floor model, the floor pump. That thing blew out when I was in St. Henry, airing a tire up. That just went kaput. Just psh, kaput. It's an old pump too. I had it for about 3-4 years, and it finally just died. So I got my use of it, but it was always at the worst time. Ordered some tires, some Blackburn tires, which the tread don't seem real aggressive on them, but they were only like $19 a piece, and they got some kind of supposed to have some kind of anti-flat technology built into them. So maybe it might decrease some of the flats I get. It's my tires, yeah, I wear them out fast. The back tire it's had really aggressive tread there, but it's going down. It looks like it's turning to turn bald. So the front tire is the original tire on the bike, but it's starting to get cracks on it just from the UV rays of the sun, and just showing wear. So I figured I better get some new tires, and I bought a bunch of new spokes for the trailer, two different sizes, inner and outer spokes at two different sizes. So I got both. So I'm gonna have to replace a spoke on the trailer again because I seen a spoke broke. I think I heard one yesterday when I was riding. I heard a cracking sound. Just the way it's just too much weight in that trailer. I think it's just too much. So I'm gonna have to definitely lighten up the load. The tools alone I carry are heavy. I mean the light tools. I got an extra tent. What else do I got in there? So a lot of those books are. I think it's the books mainly that's at making the weight. So I have to really lighten my load up here this time. Yeah, I hate to give those books up, but I just can't. I can't. My trailer or my spokes on my trailer wheels are just breaking all the time. Too much weight on them, just too. My rotors like. getting some new rotors maybe for the bike wheels, but anyway, I'm going to get into Genesis here. It's so easy to get caught up in this life, and everything is just need this, need that. It's just endless, you know. So let's see. I'm in the life of Joseph here. Joseph, who was cast into prison here, falsely here. Let's see. Chapter 39 here in Genesis says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, and Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord, and Lord's in all caps there, so that's talk about Jehovah there. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass, from the time that he made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? That's about a man with real integrity there. Here's Joseph here, you know, and there's the Potiphar's wife casting her eyes upon Joseph there and trying to get him to sleep with her, commit adultery with her. That's what. So I like Joseph's reply here. There is none greater. Well, verse 8 it says, but he refused. About Joseph. In fact, let me get my yellow highlighter out. That is such a rich passage of scripture. How many people would actually do this nowadays? I don't know. I don't see a lot of people. They might just say, God, no one's really watching us. I don't know. I mean, this generation that we're living in now, it's definitely not a God-fearing generation at all. That's a good question. How many people would actually have this kind of integrity here in our day and age? It makes me think. So here's the yellow highlighter. Let me see here. I'm going to highlight that passage there. Yeah, let's see. Got this pesky fly, just keeps flying around me. Let's see. Let's see. Wow. Hi. There we go. So I highlighted that. Let's see what it says here. Okay, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, it says, and she said, lie with me. Wow, she was trying to get him to sleep with her, to commit adultery with her. But he refused about Joseph and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wanteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So this is a man with real integrity here. So, because people could think reason. Here's the human reasoning. Oh, no one's really watching us. There's nobody really here. We're all alone, so we could get away with it. So, but this is, Joseph showed his righteousness there, his integrity here. It says, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day. So what was she speaking? She wanted him to sleep with her, is what she was day by day, just continually grinding on him. It says, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And to be with her is talking about in a sexual way here. So I might highlight this too. So that's a man with integrity here, Joseph, yeah. Verse 11 says, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. I gotta get rid of this fly here. If I could get it, this is like laying on something, I could just smush it. Yeah. And she caught him by his garment about Potiphar's wife, saying, lie with me. And he left the garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. So she really spun up a real story about Joseph there, it looks like. So here we got Joseph here, just trying to go about his business, is to run the house of Potiphar. And here's that wife of Potiphar, just after Joseph. It's like, lie with me, be with me. And it was a constant thing too, wasn't, she just kept it up and went to accept no for an answer. And then here she is. So Joseph flees out of the house from her hand, just get away from her, and then he leaves his garment in her hand. And she cooked up this wild tale here. So let's see what happens here. Verse 17, and she spake unto him, talk about the him is Potiphar here. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which he spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, it says so, verse 21, and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners which were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord, and Lord's in all caps, so that's about Jehovah there, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, it says the Lord made it to prosper. And it came to pass after these things, this is chapter 40 now, that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt, had offended. Can you imagine that? How people are so easily offended in our generation. Had offended. So, can you imagine that? Ending up in prison for offending the Pharaoh there, the great leader of Egypt there. Remember, at this time, Egypt was a major world power. It's not like it's now, but it was a major world power back then, respected and great in the sight of the nations. And it says here, verse 2, and Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, which would be Potiphar, into the prison, it says, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them. And they continued a season in war. And they dreamed the dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his lord's house, saying, wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me then, I pray you. I gotta take this off here. It's getting hot now. So we got some nice mild weather here. Okay. Put this. There we go. That's much better. I was getting overheated. Night's a little cold, but days are nice, right now. So I love reading the word. That's why I need it. Yeah. Don't read the word, you get weak. You get kind of discouraged. At least I do. The word of God is like food to my soul. Okay. So verse 8 says, and he said unto them, well, verse 7 here. Well, I'll read verse 6. Let's back up to verse. Well, let's go back to verse 8. And they dreamed the dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his lord's house, saying, wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me then, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and 3 blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto them, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head, and restore thee into thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. But when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of big meats for Pharaoh. And the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on the tree, and the bird shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. And he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgat him. So here's Joseph still forgotten, totally forgotten, still languishing in that dungeon there, that prison house. So he's pretty much forgotten, just like, let's see, anyone watching here? Who knows? Anybody watching? Let's see. Let's see. I can't see. My eyes are shot, so let's see here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Okay, right here. Okay, choose. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. Okay, there we go. Take care of that. Whoops, sorry. Some people don't know how to behave themselves online, so they gotta play the fool, I guess. So show the world what's in your wicked heart. So, but anyway, let's continue here. Chapter 41 here says, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. So now it's going to spotlight on the Pharaoh here, his dreams. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and he fed in the middle. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the 2nd time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. It's kind of like Nebuchadnezzar here with his dream here. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, the magicians, he's going to call for the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. So it's kind of like the case of Nebuchadnezzar there. The only difference is that Nebuchadnezzar could remember his dream. So he told him to not only interpret his dream, but to tell him what his dream was to begin with there. Let's see. Verse 9, Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed the dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant of the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. Each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee, that thou canst understand the dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river. So here we go. Joseph is out of the prison house here. And, it was like 2 years that he languished in his prison. And God brought him out, worked this all out. Pharaoh had his dreams, the Lord was behind all this here. This was not only to deliver Joseph out of the prison house, but to save life too. Okay, so let's get to the dream here. Verse 17, And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, says fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in the middle. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, and it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. It says the 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine are that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for all that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a man as this is? Talk about Joseph here. A man in whom the Spirit of God is. So Pharaoh knew that Joseph was not just an ordinary man, that he had the Spirit of God dwelling in him, that he was different. He wasn't like his magicians there, but he was a true man of God here. So I'm going to highlight this here. Let's see. Joseph was definitely different. And Pharaoh said, forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck, and made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath Paneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. So remember, Joseph was stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, sold as a slave, carried into Egypt by the Ishmaelites, the Midianites, and sold to the Potiphar, where he became like a household servant or slave, if you will. And then he got falsely accused by Potiphar's wife of trying to make advances on her. And then he was in the prison for 2 years, languishing away in the prison house. And now God delivered him and exalted him above. He was second in command of all of Egypt. Only the Pharaoh is greater than the throne. So God really exalted Joseph, a Hebrew. And then it says in verse 46, and Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, says very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For God, said he, hath made me forget all my toil, and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim. For God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenteousness, which was in the land, were ended. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the dearth was in all lands. But in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. So that concludes this morning's little Bible reading here from my little Bible here. I call it the compact preaching Bible here. I'm in the book of beginnings here, still in the book of Genesis. Still on this road trip here. I'm waiting on parts and just very slow. Everything's so slow in coming. Hopefully that picks up this week here so I can get back on the road. Going down to the Hoosier National Forest is what I'm planning on going back to. Winter down there. In fact, I might get me some. I should get some brake pads, some brake discs for my brakes here on the bike. They look pretty. What do you call that? Wore. They got like groove marks in them, so they're the original ones I had since I had the bike. So maybe I will order some. So I think I'm going to give some of these books to the library, though, because of the trailer's just too heavy. I got these catechisms, and I don't want to really give them up, but it's just too much. I mean, weight. Pulling too much weight, and that my books are just making everything way too heavy. Lighten the trailer up some. Maybe my wheels won't be so stressed out because the spokes are breaking on the trailer all the time. So, that'd be terrible, constantly replacing the spokes. But I'll show you real fast here. I don't know, I might not know what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can do this one. I'll show you. So I got another spoke that broke. I just noticed that this morning here looking at the wheel. Yep, right here. Yep, there it is. Yeah, see right here. You can see it right here. I don't know if you can see it right where my finger is. There it is. So you can see this spoke here just broke right there. It's an inner one too, so yeah, because there's just so much weight in this trailer right here. Oh. All right, viewers, so that's it for now. Thank you for watching my live stream here. God bless.